Welcome to the final FPL game week of the season. And like Michael Bublé at Christmas, here I am risen for the finale of FPL. It has been a bit of a challenging season. It's becoming more difficult. There's more players in the game. There's lots more great content out there. It's easy to access very useful information and stats, but we have made it. We're hoping for a bit of a revamp over the summer, but nevertheless, you've made it to game week 38. Let's have a look at some tips on how to tackle the final game week of a season. So stick around to hear some hopefully useful tips and tricks. And by the way, guys, that's a little bit of a YouTube trick, you see. If you say, oh, I've got this suggestion, you won't believe the third one. It's supposed to make people stick around. Just a bit of insider knowledge for you there. But let's go straight into how I'm shaping up for the final game week. First, let's get into tip number one, though, and it would be to hold your transfer, hold your moves, because all the games kick off at the same time, so there's a big chance you could get some team news before the kickoff for all the teams, but importantly, because it could be rotation city. Now, a lot of teams will have players like I have in my team. I've got triple Man City with Edison, Stones and Haaland. I've got triple United with Shaw, Rashford and Anthony. Double Newcastle, double Liverpool, Isaac Wilson, Shaw and Trent with Matoma on there as well. Steele, McAllister, Brighton guys on the bench. Trippier, Newcastle player and Tossie at Wolves. And the big problem here is a lot of the players that we've got have got nothing to play for. So it's either A, they're going to get rotated. They don't necessarily need a rest, but the big one's going to be Manchester City, who have the FA Cup final against Manchester United, and we're stacked with those players, but also the Champions League for Manchester City. Now, Pep usually does play his players. He likes to have rhythm and momentum going into big games rather than giving players, 10 to 12 days off. He doesn't like that because they need rhythm and momentum to be playing well rather than sort of being off the boil or out of practice, so to speak. Keep those transfers until the last minute. Second point I want to make is make sure you have backup plans, because like it is linked to tip number one of making sure you know what to do. The deadline can sneak up on you, and if the servers go down with 30 minutes to go and you're stuck, you don't know what moves to make, it could be a real problem. So don't just think of one transfer move this week, think of many. So if you're looking at my team and you think, well, okay, Haaland might not play, I want to try and take a punt, maybe go Kane against Leeds because Leeds have to attack because Leeds must win. That might be ripe for a Harry Kane goal, but then you find out Haaland is playing against Brentford, who you would probably back to do well against Brentford, but then you find out Rashford is not playing for Manchester United. He's going to have a rest before the FA Cup final. I don't want to be there going, well, oh my God, who am I going to change for Rashford then? Okay, let's just... You're going to be in all sorts of trouble. So make sure you've kind of got at least one move for like every player in your squad or in your starting 11, just in case. This brings me on to point number 3 about talking about taking hits. I personally don't like... Now, for fun, if you're not getting to a rank that you desire and you're not trying to hold anything and you want to attack a mini league, for example, against a guy who's got a similar team than you, then yeah, a hit might be the one to pay off, especially if it's a differential hit or a captaincy differential as well. I like taking hits where I know I'm going to give a player sort of 3 or 4 game weeks to earn that back from me for whoever he's coming in for. The situation of game week 38, it's the last game week, so it's an all or nothing situation. So you need to really try and get a little bit more luck than usual in FPL in game week 38. In terms of players potentially to score big this week, the computer algorithm, the AI gods of FPL, they have Salah, Fernandes, Haaland, Kane to do pretty well. Personally, now I don't have the money to do it myself, but if I had money in the bank, I would be looking at Arsenal players. A lot of us took them out for double game week players on the wildcard sort of early game week 30s. We took our Arsenal players out because they'd had all the double game weeks, they play more than everyone else, and they were going to play once a week. They're at home to Wolves. Granted, both teams have not really got anything to play for, but there's no cup games after it. It's the last hurrah. And I think that that could be a good one for the likes of Saka, Ødegaard, or Gabriel Jesus up front. Eze is predicted to do quite well, but again, sticking with teams like Spurs players against Leeds, so differential like maybe like Son or Kane or Kulusevski, because Leeds have to go out there and attack. Everton don't need to attack, but Ideally, they want to put it to bed and win against Bournemouth, who have nothing to play for, and Everton are at home, so could be getting players in there. And then you've got Southampton, Liverpool. The big problem for me this way for Liverpool, and why I took Gakpo out last week for Anthony, not just because Anthony had a double game week, but because I think someone like Bobby Firmino might be a good punt, because I think he might play. Liverpool season is basically done, but a big problem that we're going to have with Liverpool is I think there's like 5 players that are leaving at the end of this season, and I think this might be a time for Klopp to let them play. And in this kind of game, Liverpool's got nothing to play for. They might rotate. Southampton might play their youth players. And I always find that once a team is actually relegated, for some reason they start to play good football, and that could be a situation. It's just a nothing game. Manchester United as well. I already mentioned this, the same problem that Man City have, but we've got previous with Pep, because he's won so many Premier Leagues. We've got a sort of an idea that we don't think he's just going to drop all of his players for the remainder of the Premier League because he's got the FA Cup and the Champions League. No, he likes to have momentum and rhythm. But Manchester United, it's the double game week like right now, like it is with Manchester City. You don't know what they're going to do against Fulham. They could rest all their players against Fulham and have them fresh, because I don't know what Ten Hag's going to do. We've got no previous there, so it could be a bit of a difficult situation. So I just wanted to make a quick video just to basically give some tips on how to tackle game week 38. It is rotation city. Try and hold off for the deadline. Make sure you've got multiple moves in mind. Try and target teams and players with something to play for. Or, for example, again, Everton are unlikely to play a really weakened side because they have to win. So they're probably going to play the strongest 11. You've got a better idea who's going to play for Everton than you know who's going to play for Arsenal. Even though Arsenal are probably likely, but it's not for sure likely people like Jesus and Saka's going to play. So hold the transfers, make multiple moves in your mind, and whatever moves you're going to make, maybe try to target teams and players who feel like you're for sure going to see them play because they've got something to play for, and try not to maybe make too many hits. I might look at the channel and things to do over the summer. I would like to get back into it. My daughter is getting older. You might have heard her a few times in the background shouting her little head off. She's almost 2 now, so it's a situation where she goes and plays, and I might be able to actually have time to do my analysis properly with formations and analyzing teams as well as players for next season. So I could be back next season with all things going well. I hope you enjoyed the video and got something out of it, or just happy to see me. I'll be happy to see you, and as always guys, have a good one.